Hi there, I'm Jennifer Stewart.
And I'm Catherine Clark, and we're so glad that you're joining us today for The Honest Talk.
We're excited to be bringing you conversations with some of North America's most inspiring women, and we are thrilled to be partnering with RBC as we do so.
This podcast is about leaving behind the talking points and diving into the real, authentic, and unique personal stories of our guests. Stories which we hope might influence or inspire your own journeys.
So let's get right to it. Hey, Catherine.
Hi, Jen.
Super exciting because we launched the Women's Summit ticket sales yesterday. And Summit is October 24th. So it seems like a far ways away, but so much planning and so much work that has to happen to have a successful summit. So really excited that it's out in the world now because it's been months and months and months of work between the team and you and me. And I feel really excited about it.
Yeah, I feel so excited about it too. And the other thing that I'm particularly excited about is that tickets are really selling well, and that makes me feel proud, but also it is exciting to think that we're going to gather again with this dynamic group of women, many of whom came from last year and some new people too. It's really going to be fabulous.
Yeah, I just remember the feeling last year at the end of the day, and the sun was setting. We had it in Ottawa, and it was over Parliament Hill, and it just felt really energizing. Like it felt more than just talks and panel sessions. It really genuinely felt like we were building a community. So I agree with you. Seeing that the ticket sales come through 24 hours after launch, super exciting and super motivating. And we've got some great speakers too.
And we are moving to a new location. We should make that clear to anyone who's listening and considering joining us. We're going to be at the Brook Street Hotel this year, and we made that choice for a variety of reasons. We wanted to kind of shake it up a little bit. I wanted free parking.
Who doesn't want free parking? Did I tell you my parking story? I digress. But I don't know if I got more air in my tires or what happened, but I went into a parking garage in downtown Ottawa. The inn seemed to be fine. Maybe my music was too loud, but I could not get, and I just missed the scratching, and I could not get out of the parking garage in downtown Ottawa. Anyways,
how did you get out? Or is your car still there?
You probably don't want to know what happened because I just kind of went through the garage and there's some scrapes, but my car is very tall. So my husband hasn't seen them, but I just disclosed this on a podcast. So, so all to say the outdoor parking and the availability of parking is a real thing.
Okay, well, any women who may face similar issues are going to be happy to know that there is plenty of parking for vehicles of all sizes at the Women's Summit. And actually, we've got a discount code if there are women who want to stay overnight at the Brook Street. We have Air Canada back on board with a discount code for women who are traveling into the summit. And I guess other than just like the bare details, we should probably tell people a little bit about some of our guests.
It's like drum roll. We've got through the parking and the logistics. Now it's on to the big names. Super excited to welcome Arlene Dickinson, who's obviously been a Dragon's Den for many seasons, a venture capitalist in Canada, and is spearheading the Elbows Up movement in Canada, which is a really important initiative and narrative right now regarding discussions of our sovereignty, of supporting Canadian products, and just ensuring that businesses are able to weather these really trying times. So it's going to be really interesting to speak with her. And Catherine, I know you're excited about a few guests as well. Well, we're excited about all the guests.
We are. We're totally excited about all the guests. And also you have, you're going to be leading a panel when we're talking about entrepreneurs and businesses of some pretty neat entrepreneurial women too. You've got Emma May from Sophie Grace and Jen Harper from Cheekbone Beauty who are lined up, which is pretty cool.
So excited. And Emma May she's a lawyer. She's Calgary-based, and she talks about quite candidly just about the need, the mental, weight of women trying to figure out what to wear during a work day. So she created her own clothing line, which is stretchy and machine washable. You don't have to iron any of the pieces, and they look absolutely stunning. They're typically 3-piece suits. And then
I have to add in here because we did You and I had a
Yeah.
speech recently in Montreal and for the Honest Talk, and the woman who spoke before us was wearing a Sophie Gray suit, which you picked up immediately. And I had no idea about these little elements of it. And she was saying to me, like, oh, yes, it's stretchy, which I mean, right there, that's
Yeah.
100%. And then she goes, and it's machine washable. And I
Like
reached
game
over and I
changer.
started petting her. It
But
was
it's stuff like
incredible.
that. It's stuff
Yeah,
like that. Like, I don't, men can wear the same suit day in, day out and change a tie. But as women, like, we have to think about what we're going to wear. And
right.
oftentimes it's not comfortable. So I really think that she's onto something. And then Jen Harper's just an incredible entrepreneur, obviously the founder of Cheekbone Beauty, female Indigenous led organization that's really taking the cosmetics world by storm. So really excited to talk to her about her journey. And both are experiencing some pretty tumultuous times and have been very vocal about shipping their product into the US right
Right.
now. So it should be an interesting conversation. And then we have Melissa Leone, who probably many people have seen across various, broadcast channels, both in Canada and the US, talking about personal finances.
Yeah. And you were talking about, women having a difficult time. And I think you meant more from an entrepreneurial perspective, because for sure they are. But we've also heard a lot of women talk about struggling with mental health. So we're going to have Jessica Holmes, who people may remember as a Canadian comedian. She's also an author, but she has herself struggled with some mental health issues, and she's going to be starting us off at Summit. And we also have Christine Harrison, who is a mental health practitioner, who's going to be joining, back by popular demand, Dr. Ardell Piper, to talk about a general look at women's health, but also women's mental health too. And then we've got Kathleen Wynne, and we've really got a pretty stellar group of people who are going to come in and power up the day.
Absolutely. And just speaking of kind of navigating these times, I know, Catherine, you've really tried to change your buying habits. Talk to me a
I
bit about
have.
that.
Yes. Well, mostly that involves sending my husband to Costco with a
Poor
list.
Chad.
It says, please buy Canadian. And he, who I've talked to you about this before, he sets time limits for how long we're going to be in a store. And we have to meet them like 28 minutes, random pick, but we have to be back in the car in 28 minutes. And so when I send him with a list that makes him actually not just like grab and go, he was 2 hours.
Aw,
So, but
what a
I
good partner.
no, but I do now. I look specifically for Canadian products.
Yeah,
I am buying where and whenever I can, either Canadian made or Canadian prepared products for sure. Or I'm
yeah,
looking internationally. Like I'm buying my Moroccan oranges. So,
right,
and
right.
I admit I have the luxury of being able to make those choices
Hmm.
within reason. But I know that a lot of Canadians right across the board are doing something similar. And speaking of that, Jen, what a wild time we're living in. Like we have an election coming up real soon.
Real soon. And you know what? I think it's going to be interesting to see what the results are because, if you look at what people were predicting, even just 6 months ago, we have drastically shifted what, pollsters think the results will be in just a matter of months. So it's been interesting to watch. I'm doing a lot of television commentary from
Mhm.
a nonpartisan perspective on the communications tactics and approaches of the various leaders. And I mean, regardless of political stripes, I just feel for anybody because, elections are hard, they're difficult on families. And, I think this is probably the most consequential election of our generation, Catherine, in terms of the issues that we're dealing with. So I'm just really excited to watch the debates and to see what the outcome's going to be.
Yeah. And I guess we should make it clear to our listeners because this won't be aired today that we're about a week and a half out from an election now. So when this by the time that people are listening to this, the debates will have happened and that may actually have hardened up a lot of votes. I know that's the hope of many of the leaders. But what I found interesting is that a lot of the polling has suggested a gender divide, that women and men are really approaching this election differently. So I'm going to be interested to see how that plays out
Hmm.
over the last part of the campaign and then, of course, on voting day itself. But
Yeah.
not talking about big, serious issues like this. What are you doing to take yourself away from the major issues of the world? Are you reading a book that you're loving, or are you I
So
mean,
that's
you're
my
always reading a book.
challenge. I'm always reading a book, and I have you ever read Kristen Hanna?
Yes, I have.
Right Alone, The Nightingale.
Yes.
I started reading, and I love Kristen Hanna. She's probably not listening to this, but she's an exceptional writer. But I started reading The Four Winds, which is set during the Depression. And I'm about 200 pages in, and I keep hoping we move past the Depression. But it's like, and then the water hasn't come yet. And then the ground broke open.
Oh dear.
And then the livestock, started to pass. And I'm like, you
Yeah.
know what? I think I don't do this very often, Catherine,
Yeah.
but just given how bleak it is in the external world, I'm going to put it
Right.
down and I'm going to just swap that out for a rom-com. You
Yeah.
know?
Rom-com. Yeah. Maybe, like a game of Scrabble might help.
Yes,
Right?
exactly. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I really find it difficult to read. Typically, I love her, but I find it difficult to read books that are also a little bit depressing in terms of what's happening in the world.
For sure.
So we need an escape. But I did just watch season 1 and 2 of The White Lotus, and I was way behind because people have been talking about the show for, well, over a year now, and I think season 3 just wrapped. But it's really well done. So if you haven't seen it, I
I
encourage you
haven't.
to see it. Your kids are old
Okay.
enough, but my kids can't be in the room when it's on. But you're good.
Okay. Okay.
But what are
Well,
you watching?
I just finished watching The Residence, which is absolutely delightful. It's a Netflix series. I think it's 8 parts, maybe 10. And it's set in the White House, ironically, I know, but it is not this White House. And it has a female protagonist who is basically the world's best detective, but she's super quirky. And so is everyone else in the residence, and she has to solve a murder. And it's escapist and totally delightful. So I thoroughly encourage anyone who's just looking for a fun something to watch to check out The Residence.
Okay, you had me at quirky and murder mystery. So putting the Four
Yeah.
Winds down in the Great Depression. I'm sorry, you're going to my bedside table, and The Residence. Here I come.
Yep. And feel no guilt about it.
Exactly.
Well, I love these little chats. I was thinking we actually didn't tell people, if we're circling back to Summit, where they can get their tickets, just in case they aren't getting our newsletter or part of our Honest Talk site, which is also advertising everything Women's Summit.
Well, you should sign up for the newsletter because it's really great. Our editor does a fantastic job. But if you're looking for tickets, it's thewomenssummit.ca. So www, obviously, my kid would call me a boomer for saying www. Everybody knows. www.thewomenssummit.ca.
I love it. I would say www too. So you're not alone.
Okay, good.
Really
That's why we work. Okay. Have a great weekend.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Well, that's a wrap. And to our listeners across Canada and around the world, we thank you for joining us.
You can hear The Honest Talk on iTunes, Spotify, and Simplecast, brought to you by RBC. You can also get more information on stories that matter to you at our website, thehonesttalk.ca, and sign up for our weekly newsletter where you'll get fabulous stories delivered right to your inbox.
But for now, thank you for being a part of today's podcast. Stay tuned for more great conversations and stay well.